Yeah. Well, it's noon here on the East Coast, and this is news that you can use for Tuesday, June 28th from YAA with your hosts, Zach and Ray. And I must say, my son's looking, well, rather handsome today.
Thank you, Pops. I always appreciate it. If you don't watch the YouTube channel, you entirely should. I'm wearing a collared short sleeve shirt. Here,
Yes.
I'm even going to unbutton a button.
No. We already got enough complaints from yesterday that you were just showing way too much chest hair.
Dad, let's
Why?
kick things off here.
Button it up.
All right.
Button
No, it
it
looks
up.
good. It looks
No,
good.
button it up. What are you?
You want another one?
What are you trolling? What the hell are you doing here? Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Let's kick things off, Pops, let's start with Hyundai Kia. We got
Okay.
breaking news this morning from our friends over at Automotive News. Let me pull it up on the screen, Dad. Dieselgate 2.0? Is it too early to say? Hyundai and Kia raided in Germany over suspected diesel defeat devices. German authorities have raided Hyundai and Kia over suspected diesel defeat devices in 210,000 vehicles. An early morning raid of the Germany offices of Hyundai and Kia. Dad, what's the story here, and what do we need to know?
Well, you know as much about the story as I do now, other than the fact that obviously those in government in Germany are under the impression that Hyundai and Kia have installed defeat devices to indicate to the government that the vehicles are less polluting than they really are. And and let's face it, if it's so, well, our friends at Hyundai and Kia learned that from their German counterparts at BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen Group, because Volkswagen was the first one to get caught,
Yep.
for doing that here in the United States. So apparently, rather than actually coming up with the technology that cuts down the amount of emissions from diesel vehicles, manufacturers feel more compelled to spend the money to develop software that would indicate that there's less emissions than there really are, rather than really producing the cars that create less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're spot on. That I think back to when Dieselgate happened, the
Yes.
Volkswagen emission scandal, because that was huge. And just for some context here, and I don't know, I was doing a bit of research. I didn't come to like an exact amount that scandal cost Volkswagen, although there are some estimates that it was as much as 45 billion euros, which would equate to, I guess, 40-ish billion US dollars. I mean, it was a very expensive cleanup job that they had to do.
Yes, in more ways than one. Yes.
But put this into perspective, Dad. You just go to the Wikipedia page on the Volkswagen emission scandal. I mean, governments that took action against them were Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, China, the EU, France, Germany, Hong Kong, India, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Norway, Romania, I mean, the list, not to mention the United States.
Yes.
These types of things can be devastating. I mean, and the impacts from the VW emission scandal are still ongoing. Like, you may not know this, but Electrify America, the largest charging network in the United States, is a direct byproduct. It's funded by Volkswagen. It was part of their settlement, was to create Electrify America to push the industry forward towards EVs. If Hyundai and Kia, if this is the first domino that is falling on this story, this could be something that we're talking about much later this year and into next year as well.
Well, and if it's so in Europe, then I'm not sure if they're selling diesel vehicles here in the United States, but if they are, well, then the U.S. government's going to be looking into it as well. The EPA will look into it, and if it's the case in Europe, then more than likely the same software is installed. The defeat software is installed in cars being sold and driven in the United States. So yeah, this could get costly for those South Korean auto manufacturers, like it did for Volkswagen. And the difference between, say, Volkswagen and Hyundai Kia is Volkswagen had a more fan-friendly following than Hyundai Kia does, a much larger following because they had been in business longer, and they were at one time the largest manufacturer of automobiles in the world. Did it impact how the public viewed Volkswagen? To a certain degree? Were they able to overcome it? Obviously, they have been. But I don't think Hyundai and Kia share the same gravitas, so to speak, the same cachet, so to speak, as Volkswagen of America did. And so if it happens here, I mean, that could be major implications for Hyundai Kia.
Huge implications.
Yes.
All right, we've got all sorts of folks here in the chat with us. Igor reminding us that
Yes.
the U.S. dollar is actually worth more than the euro. So thank you. For that,
No, it's
Igor.
worth
So
less, which is why 45 billion euros is 50 million American.
All right. Euro to dollar. No, a euro is worth less than a U.S. dollar. It's right here, Puffs, right? 1 euro equals 1.05. So if we put in 44 billion, 45 do I have enough zeros?
I don't know.
There you go. You can see the math happening on the screen. Thank you for that, Igor. We also have Phil here. It's good to see you, Phil. Thanks for being here. Bill, it's hilarious that Electrify America is funded by VW when VW's EVs still don't support the plug and charge. And Kimberly, good to see you, Kimberly. Always happy to have you here. I was working at a VW dealership at that time. Fun times. Now, Pops, let's actually switch gears here. It's kind of in a similar vein. It's like not good news, unfortunately. I'm going to pull it up on the screen, Dad. This just came out 3 minutes ago.
Oh my God. You talk about breaking news. Where is our CNN breaking news banner that will just never stop scrolling across the bottom of your screen every minute of every day? There it is.
An alarm bell.
Okay. My God.
That's what I could do for you. Dad, let's hit on this because it ties directly into the fact that Ford has some new recalls, and also Toyota has some new recalls as well. JD Power vehicle quality sinks to new low. Supply chain issues, record high vehicle prices, and remote work environments made vehicle problems surge to a record high this year, up 11% from a year earlier, according to JD Power's 2022 U.S. initial quality study. GM was an outlier with a broad increase in quality across its 4 brands, earning the highest ranking among automakers. Shall we look through this together?
Go back up to the top with vehicle problems surge 11% of vehicle according to initial quality. So what was it about remote workers? What was that? Where was that?
It just says that remote work environments made vehicle problems. I don't know. Let's read it.
Okay. So are the assembly line workers working remotely? I mean, what? I'm sorry. Maybe I just see and hear things funny. But it's the assembly line workers that have everything to do with quality control, not the remote workers. So please take that line out of the subhead in this article.
Maybe there's a reasoning for it. Let's see.
Really?
So JD Power has been doing this vehicle quality study for 36 years, Dad, and this is the lowest the score has ever gone. On average, 180 problems per 100 vehicles were tracked industry-wide, according to the report. The study fielded from February through May of 2022 was based on responses from 84,165 car buyers and lessees of new 2022 model year vehicles. That's a pretty substantial number, especially when we talk about
it is.
Yeah. And yes, David is like, this is what's going through my head right now. So you're building fewer cars and making them worse. That's actually what's going through my mind as well.
Yes.
Okay. Problems per 100 vehicles. So Buick has the best quality ranking here.
Yeah, they have the fewest problems per 100 vehicles. Yes.
Okay. Dodge with 143, Chevy 147, Genesis 156. What does this gold mean? Let's see really quickly. It doesn't say. Okay, let's look, though. The industry average is 180. Let's see who has the most. Chrysler has 265 issues per 100 vehicles. Volvo, 256. Maserati, 255. Audi, 239. Volkswagen, Mitsubishi, Alfa Romeo. You can see the list that goes on and on. Where's Ford on here? Where's Ford? So Ford's below the industry average at 167, Dad.
Pretty much the vast majority of manufacturers are below the industry average.
Well, that's
But
how that works, Dad.
yes, yes. But that is unfortunate that we're building less vehicles, and you would think that if you're building less, you should be able to pay more attention to quality control. So it's the opposite that's happening. Imagine, if you will, for a moment, if they
Huh.
could actually build the amount of vehicles they want. The amount of junk that they would be building would be going up exponentially based on what we're seeing with the issues they're having building fewer vehicles.
Yeah, it's a good point. Mitsubishi's quality took the biggest hit compared with last year. The brand had 226 problems per 100 vehicles, up 82 from last year. Ram, which ranked number 1 last year, had 186 problems per 100 vehicles, an increase of 58. Jeep, Volvo, Jaguar, Porsche, and Hyundai also saw their numbers of problems per 100 vehicles rise by at least 36 over the last year. You know what's interesting about the Ram number, Dad? Ram is one of the few brands that has a lot of, quote, a lot of inventory right now.
Yeah, so they're not building less and building them poorly. They're building more and building them poorly.
What counts as an issue? Let's see if the article says this, because I'm very
what
interested.
counts as an issue is when the customer brings it back and reports a problem with the vehicle to the service department.
Gotcha.
Whether that be a rattle, yeah.
Let's see here. So GM was an outlier. Buick was the highest ranking brand of the study. Genesis was the highest in the premium. Most problems reported were tied to vehicles' infotainment systems, a trend from previous year's studies. 6 of the top 10 problems were infotainment related, such as Android Auto, Apple CarPlay connectivity, built-in voice recognition, difficulty with touchscreen display screens, built-in Bluetooth systems, too few power plugs, USB ports, and inconsistent audio volume. More problems were reported among battery electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles than vehicles with internal combustion engines. ICE vehicles averaged 173 problems per 100 vehicles, while plug-in hybrids averaged 226 problems, and battery electric vehicles, excluding Teslas, averaged 240.
Wow.
This is the perfect segue into the Ford F-150 Lightning news. That is interesting, Dad.
That is, and what's most interesting is that if it's most of it's related to infotainment systems and things like that, well, then that would indicate there are more chip issues than anything else.
Yeah, you could be very right about that. Let's hit on the 2 recalls that are plaguing the industry right now. We'll start with the Ford one, Dad. Ford just announced for their F-150 Lightnings, and let's be really clear here. This is actually a good story. Like, I'm gonna be very clear. I think this is a great story. Ford recalls EV F-150 Lightning pickups. About 2,900 trucks are involved in a potential software glitch. This is why over-the-air updates are incredible, Dad. This is a tire pressure monitoring system. You know, the TPMS is not going off. The light's not illuminating at the right value. 2,900 vehicles, they're all going to get fixed within the next 30 days from a 20-minute software over-the-air update. That's wonderful.
Well, no, it is wonderful. And the over-the-air update for people that don't want to take the vehicle into the dealership won't be available for 30 days. If you are concerned about it, as well you probably should be, you can take it into the dealership immediately to get the 20-minute software update done there.
Thank you, yes.
And any vehicles that are sitting in inventory that aren't sold, the ones with the hefty additional dealer markups that haven't been sold yet, those will be fixed prior to the new customer taking delivery. So if you're waiting on the over-the-air update, you're going to wait a month. But it is good news that it can be handled over the air. Now, if I was running a dealership and I saw that and I had sold some of those vehicles, rather than have my customer wait and get the free over-the-air update in 30 days, I would be contacting them, bringing them in so that we could handle it right away and actually make a warranty claim against Ford so that Ford Motor Company could pay for that. And that's an additional revenue source for the dealership.
And I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. Justin, thank you, Justin, wrote this article this morning about the recall on the YAA website. Join YAA.com resources, then go to blog. And he did a great job explaining why this is like a competitive advantage that Ford actually has. There are some limitations to over-the-air updates, and he talks about other manufacturers who don't have as advanced over-the-air updates. For example, Hyundai, Honda, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen, they are not offering, or they aren't offering as many over-the-air updates, which is a huge advantage when you see recalls like these. You can just get it taken care of at home. Now,
Yes,
that
if the recall is based on a software issue,
yep,
yeah, then this is so much easier. But obviously, if it is a mechanical issue, that's one of the things that the dealerships live and pray for, at least on the service side of things.
Read this headline, Pops.
Toyota BZ4X already recalled for wheels that could come off. Well, so the wheels on the bus go round and round, but the wheels on the BZ4X, well, they go round and round, but no longer attached to the vehicle. That's interesting.
Ah, man. So this Toyota news is concerning for a variety of reasons. First is Toyota, and obviously they have a long-standing, status within the industry of being very reliable and very much so on top of things. This is their first foray into electric vehicles. They shared the platform for that with the Subaru Solterra. That out of 260 Toyota BZ4Xs that have been delivered in the United States, there were 2 instances that were reported to Toyota of vehicles whose wheel locks came off and ultimately resulted in the wheel falling off of the vehicle while in operation. That is a remarkable percentage. 2 out of 260. That is wild.
Which I suppose why it hasn't taken long for there to be a recall. Now, I don't know what would suddenly cause the lug nuts to loosen unless they just weren't attached tightly enough at manufacturing. But during the pre-delivery inspection process, you would think that the techs double check the tightness of the lug nuts.
Of course.
So I don't know. That's an interesting one. I do remember back in the old days, in the dark ages, when I sold cars at Admiral Nissan in Pleasantville, New Jersey, where I had a customer come in and he parked his car in the garage every night. And he came in and he asked me one day, he said, I park my car in a locked garage every night. And when I come out in the morning, some of the lug nuts are off the car. What do you think's causing that? And all I could think of was angry squirrels. What are we? I mean, somebody's going in and playing a joke on you. I mean, how else are they coming off like that? That they would just be, well, I don't know, resting below the wheel or next to the tire on your car. But I think this situation with Toyota is just a tad bit different than the angry squirrels.
Oh, definitely. And it's super concerning. I mean, this is like, we have 2 recalls that came out at the same exact time on polar opposite ends of the spectrum. One is tire pressure monitoring system. Like, thank goodness, excuse me, from Mike Levine's standpoint, again, the head of product communications for Ford North America. I mean, I can only imagine if they had this issue with the F-150 Lightnings on top of all the dealer markups they're having to deal with right now. This is a big material thing for Toyota and for Subaru. Again, their first foray into EV, and to have this result, it's not good. They caught it early though,
this is the type of recall that dealerships like, because it's a mechanical recall where you have to bring the vehicle into the dealership, and the dealership gets to have a warranty claim paid for by the manufacturer. So it's really a good profit center for the service department, and it helps dealerships tremendously. So there you have it. Obviously, it's not a lot of vehicles, but it's vehicles, and it shouldn't be happening.
Pops, let's talk about another piece of Ford news and also EV news, because it's also going to impact the future of leasing. This headline from yesterday, I think this could have its own 30-minute discussion. But
did you read it? Just read the rationale for it.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yes.
kind of want to dig into this a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
So Ford stops letting customers buy EVs at least, and they're not the first automaker to do this. Tesla,
Tesla
obviously,
does
is on
it.
this. Tesla's rationale for it is because they're going to build their mobile fleet of self-driving owned cars, and we'll read Ford's rationale here in just a second. But actually, that's right here. Ford Motor Co.'s new policy aims to make to better manage battery recycling. Dad,
Yeah, but only on lease vehicles.
only on these
Yeah,
vehicles.
only on lease vehicles. Let me get this straight. Leasing represents about 18% of all sales today. Okay. Um, let's just say, so that means 82% are sold. Okay. And the people own those, but we're not concerned with the recycling of those batteries.
You're
Just
catching
the eight,
on. You're
yeah,
catching on.
just the 18% of the get that get that is such BS. That is such creative BS. I mean, you got to do, Mike. Your team has to do better with these
The
type of
spinning, your
excuses. Yeah.
spins.
Oh my God, these
So
plates
let's
are crashing. Okay, they're no longer spinning; they are falling to the ground, and the audience is laughing at the
let's explain it,
stupidness.
Dad.
Yes, please.
Let's explain it. Let's explain it. So the
Yes,
rule applies to leases that began June 15th or later
yes.
in 38 states. Ford plans to update lease agreements in the remaining 12 states to reflect the policy by the end of the year. In a statement, Ford Credit said customers who lease an F-150 Lightning, Mustang Mach-E, or E-Transit must return the vehicle when the contract is up and can then renew their lease with a new vehicle if they choose.
Yeah, that's not renew their lease. Let's get into a
Let's
new
get into a
lease.
new lease. Okay,
Yeah,
Pops, let's
but
again.
they phrased it as renew your lease. It's not renewing a lease.
Okay, let's explain. None of us are naive enough to think here that money does not dictate how decisions are made. Ford's trying to make more money. Why does this work? Why does this work for Ford Motor Credit, and why does this negatively impact consumers? I have my supposition. I'm curious what you think.
Well, because this is going to create a at least around 18, let's call it 20% of the Lightnings that get sold are leased. Okay, so a fifth of those Lightnings and Mach-E's and E-Transits are going to come back to the dealerships. Okay, which creates used car inventories and opportunities for the dealerships to then resell them and finance them through, you guessed it, Ford Motor Credit. This has absolutely nothing to do with the recycling of electric vehicle batteries. It has
And Pops,
everything to do with the bottom line for Ford Motor Credit and their dealers.
and Pops, do you
Yes.
not think this is a bargaining chip between Ford and their dealers? Hey, dealers, do Model E. Prices are going to be fixed. MSRP is going to be fixed. But you know what we can do for you? We can essentially become your captive direct to consumer. All auto dealers are struggling and have been struggling with how do we go direct to consumer to buy cars from them so that we can sell them for more money? Who's done a really good job at that? Carvana, right? CarMax. Not so much for him. This is a bargaining chip from Ford to say 20% of your vehicles, your EVs, are going to come back. And you know what you can do when they come back? You can have your $5,000 PVR on them because you can sell them for whatever the hell you want to sell them for. They're used cars then.
Yep.
This is a bargaining chip and kudos to Ford. Kudos to Mike and his team. I actually think they're doing a great job trying to spin it. It does not take that much. I mean, we're in it every day. Dad, so many people are going to read that headline and be like, wow, Ford's fighting against the dealer and they're saving the environment. Ford. It's BS, man. It's so that they can bargain with their dealers and their dealers are happy because they can make more money.
The consumer that leased the vehicle is getting screwed. What has one of the advantages, and there are people who don't think there are any advantages to leasing, but one of the advantages to leasing was that if you wanted to, at the end of the lease, you could just walk in, turn it in, and walk away from it. Okay, and pay a disposition fee to do that. Or you could walk in, turn it in, and get into a new vehicle that you either buy or lease through that same captive lender and they will waive the disposition fee. And the third option was that you could buy the vehicle at the end for the residual value that was established the day you signed the lease.
Yep.
Okay. We are living in a time, I will give you a perfect example of this. We are living in a time where residual values are much lower than real market values. My dear friend Lee, whose lease on his Subaru Outback is up on August 8th, he has he can buy the vehicle at the end of the lease. The residual value is $16,609. Okay, we submitted that car to Carvana to see what Carvana would pay for that vehicle. They would pay $26,062 for that vehicle. Okay, that means Lee has right around $9,500 in equity that he can keep, not Ford, not somebody else, but that's a way that will offset that $9,500 offsets all the payments that he made on that vehicle. And by Ford and Tesla and others that will come online and say, there is no third option of buying it. Well, that screws the customer when it comes to times like this, where you actually have equity that you're entitled to if you want to buy it.
And Pops, does it not signal to you that these captive lenders, which are just essentially freaking hedge funds, like, let's be very clear, that's what they are. They're money moving organizations. They're risk distribution organizations. That's what they are. Does that not indicate to you that they think used car prices, especially for EVs, explicitly for EVs, are going to stay high in the future?
Yes.
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 Like, why else would they be
absolutely.
doing it? They know. So James Fronte in the chat here put this down. But can Ford lessees after June 15th sell their leases early before the termination date to another Ford dealer if they have positive equity at the time of disposition? No. You don't have the option to buy it and sell it, period.
Yes.
And so what more clear indication do you need that this is a bargaining chip with Ford dealers and that Ford Motor Credit thinks that used EVs are going to be appreciating over the next couple of years? That's what this signals. And you're going to see other OEMs do the same exact thing. I would be very surprised. And Igor, where is it? Still thinking Farley is a good guy on the side of consumers? No.
Yeah, because I am sure that this was a joint decision made by Ford Motor Credit with input directly from Ford Manufacturing.
Of course.
Yes. So once again, the consumer gets left holding the bag.
Oh, and this is a huge like systemic transition that I think we're about to see, which is get consumers to just pay monthly.
Yes.
Don't even think if you own it. Don't even think if you're like leasing it. Just pay us a certain amount each month and we'll take care of everything. And you're happy because you have mobility. And I'm telling you, man, the more we see that, the more as consumers we kind of abdicate responsibility for how we're getting these things. It's just going to cost us more.
Yes.
It really is.
And truth be told, most in the old days, okay, I because today people are holding cars longer than they ever have. One of the reasons is because there's a shortage of cars. But in the old days, people would finance a car for 48 or 60 months. Okay, and somewhere around 32 to 36 months, they would grow tired of the vehicle and they would trade it in. And they would roll a little bit of negative equity into their next vehicle, and they would continue to have a payment. The reality is, those people who were financing the vehicle and never made their last payment on the vehicle, they didn't own it. The bank owned it. The bank had an interest in it. There was a lien filed against that, and until you satisfied that lien, it wasn't your vehicle. That, in essence, is no different than a lease. Okay, the difference is, in a lease, the amount you're paying each month is typically less than it is for a purchase, and it's for a shorter time commitment. but people who say, well, I'd rather own my car. Well, have you ever seen your title? Okay. Have you ever once made the 60th payment and had your bank send you the title that says the lien's been satisfied? And the answer for most people is no. Okay. Or a good percentage of people, that answer is no. So in essence, you were really leasing it just for a longer term.
Yeah.
This country has primarily had nothing but payment buyers. A vast majority of people are payment buyers for, like, I don't know, 40 years. What's the monthly payment that works? And so now, yes, to your point, we're going to see where we're not even going to tell you if it's a lease or a purchase, because it doesn't matter. It's just a payment. Okay, you're just going to have a payment, and you're going to have a payment, well, forever, and be happy about it.
You'll own nothing and do as you are told.
Yep. Could very well be the case.
Kind of feels that way.
Yes.
All right, Pops, let's call it a day. We will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. If you're not listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just search Daily News You Can Use, YAA, all that fun stuff. We appreciate reviews when we see them there, read them there. Pops, thank you for your time today. We got to do a video for the main channel about this Ford news and about the end of traditional leasing. Because even though it only affects 18% of quote buyers, what's happening here is kind of like a seismic shift in how this industry works, and people need to be aware of it.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right, Pops, I'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely. We'll see you. We'll see you all back here again tomorrow at noon Eastern, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry.
That was quite loud.
Well, that was my radio voice.
See you guys. See you, Dad.